Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Spoiler Warning Podcast. This is review number 649 with our review of Wonder Woman 1984. I'm Christopher Schnese.
And I'm Stephen Miller.
And if you're joining us for the first time, the Spoiler Warning Podcast is a weekly film review program. Each week on the show, we're going to dive in, debate, discuss, and argue over the latest films coming to a streaming platform near you. This week, we already had a review in the feeds of Soul, Pixar's new film, and now we're talking about Wonder Woman 1984. This is a film that... It's not a normal film, right? Usually on this podcast, we would like to do our best to give a little bit of a review that talks about the film generally, and then we save a spoiler section for spoiler territory, which is the after part of the show that we do. This film, I'm going to argue, I think we're both going to argue, is impossible to talk about in any way our feelings on this film without directly addressing certain things that even the trailer for this film keeps a secret. Questions that everyone might have had the first time they saw the trailer. I think it wouldn't be fair to nebulously talk about it before we get to spoiler territory. So I think right now we can both give like a 1 to 3 word review of the film.
Sure.
Up front, and then we'll just dive into spoiler territory. So basically, we're just going to address our overall feelings in a few words. We're going to play the trailer, and when that trailer ends, we'll be in full-blown spoiler territory. So, Stephen, in just a few words, what did you think of this film?
Yes, it's stupid, but more than that, it's boring.
All right. So for me, I'm going to say, it's not good, Steven. It's not good.
Nope.
All right. So that's the teaser, I guess, for anybody who doesn't want spoilers. As I mentioned before, we're going to play the trailer right now for Wonder Woman 1984, and then we're going to come back and give you guys a review.
My life hasn't been what you probably think it has. We all have our struggles.
Have you ever been in love?
A long, long time ago. You?
So many times. Yeah, all the time.
Welcome to the future. Life is good, but it can be better. And why shouldn't it be? All you need is to want it. Think about finally having everything you always wanted.
I can save today, but you can save the world.
Steve.
Diane. Now, I take what I want in return. Everyone must see. The world needs you. You know what you need to do.
Nothing good is born from lies. And greatness is not what you think.
It's all art.
That's just a trash can.
It's just a trash can. Yeah.
Man, it's so funny seeing the end of that trailer say June 5th or whatever that date was.
Yeah.
But yeah, so as we mentioned at the top of the show, we are in spoiler territory already. So this is full-blown spoilers. So this description of what this movie is about is going to also contain spoilers. So please leave if you don't want those spoilers. Go watch the film, I guess, and then come back and listen to what we have to say. Basically, Wonder Woman 1984 is sort of the story of where Diana or Wonder Woman is in 1984. And basically, this guy, Max Lord, has found a stone which grants wishes, and he wishes to become the stone, and then uses that wishing power to try to monkey paw everyone on the planet. And Diana has to choose between keeping her boyfriend alive, who she has wished back, and saving the world from utter destruction. Stephen Miller, what did you think of Wonder Woman 1984?
Chris, this Christmas, I logged onto a new streaming platform to watch an elegant little parable about the perils of, quote, success and the insufficiency of the things we believe we want, featuring a person briefly inhabiting someone else's body who expresses repeated amazement about everyday living, and also featuring a bizarrely miscast SNL alum, culminating in a small moments of life flashing before one's eyes montage that moved me to tears. I also watched Wonder Woman. Chris,
boom goes the dynamite.
Boom goes the dynamite. This movie was bad. This movie was inexplicably bad, I would say. Inexplicable because it wouldn't have been hard for this movie to be fine, I don't think. I think, we both enjoyed the first Wonder Woman. It's set in the 80s. You could, as Captain Marvel showed, like, even if you just want to do cheesy period piece things, like, there could be some fun to be had there. Showing Wonder Woman kicking ass would be fun. Seeing the resurrection of Chris Pine would be fun.
I mean, seeing the resurrection of him would definitely be fun.
Right. Yeah. Somehow none of this is fun. And in my like 5-word review or whatever, I said like it's boring. And I honestly think that is the biggest problem with this movie. Like, yeah, we are going to tear into why the plot is really idiotic, why the message of the movie is like maybe evil. like the message is very bizarre. Character motivations are very bizarre, but I could forgive all that if the movie was fun, if the movie was pulpy and exciting, if the movie had set pieces I could latch onto. And this movie does not. Like, the first hour of this movie is just completely boring, nothing happening. It is... There's no reason this has to be 2.5 hours. Like, there's absolutely no reason for this runtime to be what it is, because it feels like they're just treading water for most of the time.
Yeah.
I honestly don't even know where to begin with how boring this movie is. Like, we're introduced to Diana, she's living her life in DC. We've been led to believe, I think, that Wonder Woman has mostly stayed in the shadows, except then we just see her like frolicking around town, saving people from getting hit by buses and, stopping bank robbers at the mall and all sorts of little thing.
But Steven, she uses her tiara to break all the cameras so that there's no evidence that she was there.
Right, yeah, because that's how cameras work. Is if you break them after they catch you,
hey, Steven,
the evidence is gone.
Steven, you weren't even alive in 1984. How do you know how cameras work?
You're right. Like, just right from the jump, the movie doesn't really make sense.
Yeah.
I'm sure other people have said it. I'm sure other people want to know, why is she stopping mall robberies, but apparently wouldn't stop the Holocaust? Like, that just seems like a missed opportunity on her part.
Stephen, how do you know that she didn't stop the Holocaust, but then Max Lord's son, who's the only one who doesn't renounce his wish at the end of the movie, didn't wish for the Holocaust to have happened?
Yeah, is there ever a payoff? Because he wishes to be great like his dad, which I think should mean that he is the stone. But they just never touch it again.
Yeah, he basically forgets. Which I thought there was going to be like some payoff at the end where he was going to wish, like, I wish none of this ever happened and then everything would be fixed, right? Because to me, renouncing the wish of all the shit that's been happening, if you said I wish you would drop dead to somebody and you renounce that wish, they are back alive. But I feel like there are things that happen outside of just the, like, if you unwish for a Ferrari or whatever people were wishing for, like, you don't have the vehicle anymore. But I feel like anybody you hit with that car while you were driving through crowds of people in DC they're not unhit, right? Like, I feel like you need somebody else who still has a wish left to be like, man, I wish we were back to before this movie fucking started.
Yeah. Yeah, like I thought that is we're just jumping all over the place because I don't even know how to approach what is wrong with this movie. But if we jump to the end, I was positive until the credits rolled that they were going to find a way to undo everything that happened because the world has basically been destroyed.
Yeah.
But nope, the movie doesn't even do that. It is just very strange. It's very, very, very strange. It seems like my bar going into this movie was pretty low because I had already started to see that people were not enthralled with it. So I wasn't going in thinking, oh, this is going to be amazing, and then being let down by it. I went in thinking, this is going to be not great, but whatever, it's fine. Yeah. 80s, that'll be fun. Cheesy effects, whatever, that'll be fun. This movie barely even has fun, cheesy effects. The movie doesn't do anything. What are the set pieces in this movie? Because there's the mall scene, which is whatever. People are robbing a JCPenney's, and then behind it are secret antiquities that they're stealing. I don't even know. Did Max Lord hire them to do that? Do we know why they robbed that stuff?
Well, yeah. So that's the weird thing because after Maxwell, I want to call him Maxwell Lord. I guess his name is Maxwell, but Max Lord. After Max Lord steals the stone from Kristen Wiig. Mm-hmm. Diana picks up a box, removes all the stuffing from the box, and there's a piece of paper that basically says Max Lord on it. And I don't know if that was him being clever, not clever in scare quotes, but I don't know if that was him being I owe you one stone, or him putting in I purchased this sort of note because I donated to the thing, or if that was because that's when Diana starts to suspect that he might have something afoot, is because she sees his name in the box. So it wasn't clear to me whether that was a receipt or if he had originally ordered that and just hadn't picked it up from the store, but for some reason, because he's pretending to be a billionaire. So why would a billionaire want to go to the jewelry store in the mall? So he had to hire somebody to steal. I don't understand any of what that situation is, but somehow he's attached to that stone already. So he's known about it prior to when he comes in contact with it for the first time.
Yeah, I mean, this stone was his whole business plan, it sounds like.
Yeah.
He just knew it would work, and he was waiting to do it so he could make the weirdest wish you could possibly make in these circumstances.
But that's the weird thing too, is his his plan. It's unclear exactly when he learns about the stone, but basically his plan is to buy every dried up oil well in existence and then one day wish for those wells to runneth over with oil, which not the world's worst plan. I mean, if you know there's
I
a
would
thing
argue
that
you don't need those wells if you've got wishes.
Yeah, you've got one
involved.
wish. You know what, Stephen, you'd be a smart man for arguing that.
But I don't know how many ands you're allowed to put in your wish.
Yeah, but
I wish for a well, and I wish for that well to be full of oil.
Yeah. So because of how stupid that is, I feel like this is a man who earnestly was believing that there would be oil if they dug deep enough, and then oil never came. And he was actually in ruins, which is why he's so desperate. And then he learns about this stone, and he's like, I could totally get a bunch of oil now for all my, because he's selling himself as this oil magnate, but he doesn't have the oil. So he's going to wish for the oil. He could just wish for $1 billion, then who fucking cares if he has oil? But he wants to wish legitness, I guess. So that's what his plan is going to be. I don't know. I don't understand exactly what his real plan was, but he definitely was somebody who made some poor investments. And now he wants to make the rest of the world make poor investments so that he can do what? Do you know what his end goal is?
I honestly think his end goal is to be a half-baked allegory for Trump. That's the only reason I can think of that he exists. Is I want to tell people I'm rich, but I'm not. And I want to tell them I'm going to give them what they want, but I'm really going to let them down. Except also I will give them what they want, and I don't know what I want. He's a very half-baked villain. And he only makes sense to me if I imagine he's meant to be a few signifiers rather than an actual character that has desires.
He basically is Jafar from Aladdin, right? He's I got a bunch of wishes, and he's first I want to be I just want to be power. I want to be a sultan. And then he's like,
Yeah.
shit, this isn't working. Okay, what's better than a sultan? I want to be like an all powerful magician. And he's like, fuck, that's still not strong enough. What can I do? And he's like, well, but he did it in reverse, right? He started with, I want to be the genie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Why, by the way, so first of all, the movie never really explains how the stone works, in part because then he becomes the stone before we can even learn what the rules are of stones. Like basically people wish for a thing and then in return there's a sacrifice and they don't get to negotiate the sacrifice. The sacrifice just comes to them, right?
Yeah.
Like Diana loses her power. Kristen Wiig, I don't know what her sacrifice is. Maybe she loses her charm. I don't know
her aloofness.
What she lost. She loses the respect of the homeless guy that she used to talk to every day.
Yeah.
I feel bad for the guy that got a cup of coffee. I don't know what he lost, but it feels like he didn't gain a whole lot.
He lost his. He can't sleep anymore. Basically, he got one cup of coffee. He'll never sleep again.
It's just anyway. You try to give me some framing for this movie.
No, so I can't even give you. I can't even complain about all the terrible stuff in this film because the only thing I could think about the entire time I was watching this film are what are the fucking mechanics of the stone. So we know it's a monkey paw situation, right? Like as you just said,
right.
You wish for one thing and you get that thing, but there's gonna be a catch, right? You're either gonna lose
and
something.
we know that because they say this is a monkey paw situation.
Yeah,
That's like
yeah.
the only way they even address it.
Yeah. So like if like I don't know if the how it should have ended people have already done Wonder Woman 1984 yet, but I'll tell you how this film should have ended. Max Lord gets the stone. He looks at the stone. He says, "I wish I was you," and then he turns into the stone, and the movie's over. Like I feel like if it's a monkey paw situation, like if he like that's the thing is. In all of these stories, whether it's like Bedazzled or like, you know, old episodes of Are You Afraid of the Dark? Like when it's a monkey paw situation, you have to choose your words very, very carefully to try to ensure that like whatever you get is not just fully trick, right? You gotta like specify. And this film is all about people not fucking choosing their words. And in most cases, people not saying what they wish, just saying, yeah, I wish that. And like that, I think that's the most frustrating thing about this film is that like, just fucking establish any rule. Like it takes us like an hour and a half of the movie before Maxwell Lord starts saying like, oh, cool, I'll take this thing that I'm like he's basically ascribing a choice to the thing that he's taking from them. But even then, it doesn't fucking make any sense what he's choosing to take from certain people, right? He's just like, what do you want? You want anything? Cool, you have that. But also, I'm gonna like when he makes like the one like the one dude like kick out all the heathens from his lands or whatever. He's like, cool, I'm gonna take your security detail. It was like, what? And like, sure, a gust of wind happens. Giant walls are erected all over the city, and then all of the security detail are just like, yeah, seems cool to me. Like, I just there's no visual representation of the influence that happens when like there's just a gust of wind, and then people just behave as though everything's cool. And I never like. I don't know. It just seemed frustrating what this film was doing with the rules it was establishing, and it just I couldn't ever understand it, and it really made me mad the entire time I was watching it.
Right. Well, I mean, his like, I'm gonna say maybe a controversial thing. I respect Pedro Pascal for what he does in this movie. He is the one person having fun in the movie and trying to take like shit material and at least like trying to be as hammy about it as he can. Like no one else is even having fun in the movie. And like, I liked him going all gonzo, but his character is just completely idiotic. Like the writing of it is so bad. His whole goal, like he flies to Egypt because he wants oil. Like he already can do whatever he wants. Like he doesn't need to go to Egypt. And then I think Chapo first like pointed this out. Like, they sold their oil to Saudi Arabia. Like that has never been how oil works in the history of the world. Like why is it even about oil? Like, I don't understand. Like, why are they doing any of this?
Yeah.
Like, he already has the thing to bypass his original wish and just go for broke, like give the people what they want. Why is there this like hijinks around the world chasing crude oil or what? Like, it just doesn't make sense.
So like when this film started, when they introduced the wishing stone, I was like, okay, cool. Now I understand how Chris gets back. Now I understand how Kristen Wiig is going to turn into the cheetah. Like, I'm good. Yeah. This film is fine. When Pedro Pascal wishes, basically what he wishes for is more wishes, but by a different name. I thought it was stupid that he chose the words "I want to be you," because I was like, wouldn't you just turn into the stone? Like, I didn't like that aspect of it. But let's pretend like he said, "I wish to be the controller of the power of granting wishes." Like, just say something clunky that makes more sense, and I'm fine with it, right? I even like the idea of, okay, step 1, I wish for the powers of granting wishes. Step 2, I get my investor to wish that I had oil. That means I get my wish, and now I'm the guy who grants wishes. Like, I was still on board with this movie. I was like, cool, that makes fucking sense. Yeah, because obviously your investor wants his money back, so he like right. I'm totally on board. Once he starts like, okay, now don't you wish we had more people working here? Like, I was like, all right, it's getting a little cheesy, but it's all right, fine. But once it gets to like where I'm like, why are you granting people wishes? You're granting wishes to nobodies so that you can get nothing? And like, by the end of the movie, when he's dying, which I guess his own life is the thing he valued most, and that's what the problem. I still don't understand what was taken from him.
Yeah, I think he hadn't had a nosebleed in decades. It was like the vomit free since '93 situation, and now he just gets nosebleeds all the time. And that was the one thing he loved more than anything else.
Basically, that's what it seems like. So like, by the time he's being killed by the granting of wishes, I'm like, okay, fine, I get it. Now you want wishes to be healthy, but wouldn't you just pick up your son and go, son, don't you wish I wasn't dying? And he'd be like, yeah, Dad, I wish you weren't dying. And then boom, you're not dying. Right? I feel like there's ways around.
And then the son dies immediately.
Oh man. But yeah, like, so it like, and I also, you know, one of the films that we praise a lot, that is also a very silly film, is The Death of Dick Long, right?
Right.
And in that film, one bad thing happens, and then they're constantly forced to do stupider and stupider shit to try to undo the ramifications of what initially happened. And I feel like there is an aspect of this story that would make sense, right? Like it's the whole, you know, we had a mouse, so we got a cat. We had a cat, so we got a dog. Like, it's sort of like that situation, right? Where I could see a film in which he has to keep making wishes because of something that he has caused to happen. But that doesn't seem to be what this film is about. It seems to be about him just wanting to go bigger.
He's just gleefully like accelerating into drive the world into chaos and give everybody everything. Like, it seems like that's what he wants for no clear reason.
Yeah. Also, the thing that's so dumb is like there's a point in this film where he goes to the White House and he goes to the president and he's like, President, what do you want? And he's like, well, I just want more nukes than everybody else has, duh. And he's like, granted. And in return, I'm going to take your power and your influence. He basically becomes the president in that moment, because he just gets out and walks on to the presidential helicopter and flies away. And I'm like, how did you define what you took from him? Like, because people still call the other.
Yeah, I think the thing is the stone takes what you most desire, but because he's the stone now, he just gets to choose, like, oh, I'm going to take this.
Yeah, but
he can take whatever he wants.
But what did he, like, okay, let's pretend you're the pilot of the presidential helicopter, Air Force, whatever it is. When some other guy gets in your plane, do you just go, oh, the stone, cool, let's take off. Where do you want to go, sir? Or like, because like, if that guy turned around and said, yes, sir, Mr. President, to Pedro Pascal, I'd be like, okay, you just, like, wished you were the president, like Jafar wishes he was the Sultan, and, like, I get it. I see what's happening here. I understand it now. But he doesn't ever say anything to any of these people. He just like waves his hand in the air and gets on the fucking president's helicopter and flies somewhere.
Yeah, well, so you're getting to one of the many problems with this movie is agency, and how does agency work in this universe? For one, how does it work for any of the people that suddenly decided to follow this lunatic because like a gust of wind blew somewhere? Agency is also an interesting question for the man who Chris Pine's soul inhabits for long enough to fuck Diana and almost get that body killed a few times and then vanish again. Was just a bizarre. Can you think of a stranger way to bring back Chris Pine than the way the movie chose to make it work?
Here's the worst part about what the film did is Max Lord is going around the world and having like leaders of other countries wish exorbitant things, and out of nowhere, walls are being erected out of air.
Right.
It's not like he goes like, I wish this wall was there, and then all of the trees turned into the wall. It like there is no reason why wishing him back to life requires him to come in the body of someone else. Because I would argue that wish wasn't actually granted, because he still sees that he sees that guy's body when he looks in the mirror. So he's not actually back. He's literally possessing that body, and only Diana sees him for who he is, which means he wasn't. So maybe she's just really shitty at making wishes, and she was like, I really wish that the spirit of my boyfriend Steve came back in somebody else's body so that I could make love to him. And maybe that's what she wished for. I mean, we cannot know, but it seems like a really easy fix to just like literally she picks it up and then she walks out the front door and he's standing in the middle of the lab, really confused, wondering how he got there. Solved. Done. And then they can have a big old thing about how did I get here? I thought I was dead. And she could be like, well, you were dead, but then there was a stone and I wished for you to be there and then you were there. Like, or since apparently everybody who wishes first, the power only comes true the next morning when they wake up. How about just wake up and he's in bed with you already and he's not taking over the body of some other person? There's lots of things they could do that would just make it super fucking easy.
Right. And it would also make, because the overriding like message of this movie is there are no shortcuts in life, right? There's that like endless scene at the beginning of this movie where young Diana learns that lesson because of the rules of this race, that it seems like either she wouldn't have won anyway because she didn't shoot the blue thing, or she rightfully should have won because shooting the blue thing doesn't matter. Anyway, all that is irrelevant.
We'll come back to that. Let's come back to that. Keep going. Yeah. Sorry.
So anyway, the message of it is there are no shortcuts. The easy way is never the right way. You can't just have things handed to you. Already a kind of like weird message to come out right now. Like I don't know that like that is the number one thing we all need to learn, is to not expect anything good to happen. But anyway, even if it is, as a hero, the way she is supposed to learn that is by having to choose to let Steve go again. And that dilemma is way harder in a world where he is magically resurrected and appears in her bed than it is where he is literally like taking over the soul of another man. Like she is allowing an evil thing to happen right now. Like every minute that she allows like this guy to not live his life so Steve can possess him and like hang out with her and have sex with her and stuff, like that is not heroic at all. That is like cut and dry. Like, no, that's not cool. What happened to the guy? You know? Yeah. And it just is very, very weird to me that they even the one clear like moral dilemma they want to put her in, they tipped it in this way where it's just like bizarre.
Yeah. It doesn't make any sense. And like then at the end, when she sees the guy who Steve had been possessing, it's all played for like, look at this guy. This is kind of fun.
Yeah, is she into him? Like, are they going to get together?
Let me playfully joke with him and have banter back and forth. Like, it's because that's the thing is, by that point in the movie, you could potentially forgive somebody for having forgotten that when she wished him back, he took over somebody else's body. But then to throw it in your face, be like, yeah, remember that? You still okay with it? Like, it's just weird that the film, like, brings it back front and center, and it does it in, like, it's almost like it's like a joke wink to the audience, but it's like, no, the thing he did was super fucked up, and it didn't have to do that. Yeah. So why are you throwing it back in our faces? Because this is, like, literally the last thing I'm going to remember about this movie is fucking this guy coming back out and talking about his outfit. And it's like, what is wrong with you?
So before we talk about the opening scene again, I want us to both say what we think is the single dumbest moment in this movie. I just want to know if they will line up or not. I don't know if we try to say them in unison. I mean, if one person.
I've kind of already said mine though.
Okay, mine is I wish all you Irish bastards would go back to where you came from. Like, what the fuck is the movie doing?
Well, Stephen, it was trying to do that the whole movie. It's trying to say that if everybody had a wish, it would be some racist shit that they would cause to happen with their wish.
So this gets back to what is at the heart, what this movie gets so wrong is either it is about your deepest held wish, in which case it's like soul. It's like the thing that you think you are striving for is not actually the thing you're striving for, or it's about like a semantic word game of getting somebody to say the word wish in a way, right? Because that guy's, at the beginning of the movie, the guy's deepest wish was not a cup of coffee. That woman's deepest wish in England was not to have the Irish people go home, which has never been a thing as far as I know. I'm pretty sure it was the other way around historically. But anyway, like, no one would say, like, gun to her head, like, that is her deepest wish in the world. No one, that guy, his deepest wish is not that this, like, waitress or owner of a restaurant would drop dead in front of him. He just said it because he's arguing. Yeah. And yet the movie plays all of these things as if they are the most profound inner wish, to the point where the big turnaround at the end is all of them being willing to let go of that wish, release it. Like, that isn't, like, the guy is sitting there who said, like, I wish you'd drop dead, eh? Or whatever. Like, he isn't, like, struggling because he's like, but all I've ever wanted in life is for this woman to drop dead. How can I let go of that?
But yeah, so it is purely a semantic thing, right? Because that's the only way that Max Lord can actually do anything he's doing, is because he's making the other people say a thing, which in and of itself may or may not work. I don't know. It's once again, this film does not establish any rules. That makes sense. But I don't know where I was even going to go with that. I wish I knew what I was going to say.
Like, the Emir of Egypt should have immediately recanted his wish, because clearly, like, when the wall rises up and all his people walk away, that's not what he wants. Like, that isn't what he asked for. Well, hey. I don't know what he wanted, because he's, like, the leader of Egypt, but he wants his ancestral homeland. That also felt weird with the whole Gal Gadot being in, like, the Israeli army thing of, like, Arabs wanting their ancestral home as, like, an evil. Anyway, we don't even need to get into that. But all these people, like, should have revoked their wish right away, because it's clear, like, this guy is, like, a cheater, and he's not giving me what I really wanted. So fuck it, I don't want this anymore.
But one could argue, and for the sake of argument, I will, that that guy didn't have the ability to recant his wish in that moment, because I think technically you would still have to touch the stone to recount your wish, because when everybody starts recounting, they already have the particles beaming to them and touching them.
No, but Diana, I believe, recants her wish before people have the particles beaming, but I'm not positive.
I don't remember exactly how. I couldn't remember if that was when everything was going to shit because everybody was getting wishes already, or if it was just DC that was, like, crumbling.
I think it's because everyone was getting their wishes. No, it's just DC. I don't think he was yet broadcasting wish abilities to the whole world, but maybe he was. The timing of this movie is also just completely fucked up.
It was really dumb as hell. And when Diana does make the fateful decision to recant her wish, I could not fucking believe that she just goes, I recount my wish, and starts running. Like, it reminded me of Michael Scott saying, I declare bankruptcy, screaming it. like she's like, I gotta save the world. I recount my wish. It It does. She didn't even get the wind that everybody else got when they made wishes. Like, you think there would be like reverse wind, like, but no, nothing.
Do we want to talk about how she can fly now?
Okay. So flight is a canonical power of Wonder Woman's. We have not seen it in any film because she hasn't had it yet. I don't even care. Like, I would be fine if she was like, if she just used the same bullshit she used for the invisibility, where she goes,
look what I can do.
Yeah, my uncle taught me this one time, but I only did it once. Let me see if I can fly. I can fly. That's cool. Like, I would almost be okay with that. But in fucking stead, her boyfriend, who she has just recanted out of existence, she is falling through the sky. She got up. She lightning bolted herself on a cloud, or she lassoed herself a cloud, flew into the sky, and as she's falling,
she did the Jimmy Stewart thing. She lassoed the moon.
Yeah. But the thing that I just wanted to kill myself is they flash back to her boyfriend saying this line about like, oh, flight is easy. It's just about wind and air and lift, and it's great. And she like sticks her arms out, I guess like plane wings. And she's like, oh, I know flight. And then she starts flying. But then she tucks those away so she can take a Superman pose. I'm like, well, if your arms were doing the lifting based on this one fucking line that you learned about from like 30 minutes ago, how are you now not keeping it like... If she kept her arms out and flew in like the T pose the whole time, like I'd be like, cool. She's, her gauntlets create lift, and then she's just so strong that she can keep that position, and like whatever. I could believe anything. But the fact that she's just like mimicking the way a plane's wing works, and now she can fly and do all sorts of maneuvers and shit, like I was like, this is fucking stupid. And then they fucking play the song.
It's just air.
Then they played the song for frickin' the thing that was used in Sunshine, that was used in the Adjustment Bureau. Like, then the song, I'm like, no, you can't play a profound song when you just did the most profoundly stupid thing I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, I couldn't decide if that scene was more dumb or less dumb than the invisible jet scene where, her boyfriend, Steve Trevor, is that his name?
Yeah, I think so.
Steve Trevor, who was a World War I era pilot, just like can hop into a jet at the Smithsonian and like, an advanced jet and just fly it immediately without any knowledge of anything.
Yeah.
Like that whole scene also annoyed me. And it would have been easy. Like, we all know the invisible jet is coming. Like, it's clear they're going to do that when they get in a plane together. But like, why not give it like, make it be a World War I era plane that he's flying, or do something to like wink at his prior character.
Steven,
it just seems so weird to me.
It was about the time it takes to get somewhere. They needed a jet that would fly faster than a World War era plane.
Okay.
You know what else is dumb about that? Once again, things this film could have just done. There's no explanation about how she got that fucking suit of armor, right? She just goes like, check it out. I got a suit of armor. Couldn't she have just gone like, check it out. I have an invisible jet.
Yeah,
it wouldn't have been any different than the suit of armor. Like, there's no reason. Or how about she puts on the suit of armor and just holds him and she flies there? There's like
2 birds, 1 stone would make total sense.
There's so many things they could have done to make it less stupid, but instead they wanted to be like, oh yeah, because they really needed to do it because they had to start with a non-invisible jet, which would have to be hidden so it would become invisible, and he would have to fly because the first thing he wants to do, after banging Wonder Woman, is get in a plane because that's the second favorite thing that he's ever written.
Can we talk about Kristen Wiig?
Yeah.
About the arc of Kristen Wiig's character, where she becomes basically a character in Cats at the end.
She is the only thing that is she is the thing that is logically consistent with what this film is doing, right? Like, there's a thing, she wishes for a specific thing, which has some ramifications to it, and like the only thing I don't understand is how she got extra powers. Because does Max Lord make somebody else wish that she was an apex predator, or does he just grant her a second wish?
Well, that is what's dumb, is he is like he's hand waving away the idea that he can take things from people after they have, requested a wish, and somehow someone who already was a cheetah, I guess, made a wish, and then he gave cheetah-ness to her.
I don't think that's what happened. Because he does talk to her about, like, I can give a million wishes. I'm changing the rules or something. I forget the line of dialogue. I'll have to go back and find it. It's when he's on the helicopter after she jumps into the helicopter with her fast skills from while they're leaving the White House.
I think he was being like, stick with me, kid. I'll give you, like, because he was talking about how he's going to take life force and power and stuff, and, like, he'll give her some too.
Yeah.
So I think, I think there's a moment where he's like suctioning up all the things where he's like whooshing in her direction of like, you take the cheetah powers from.
That's right, because he's like, I'll take your vitality, your strength. She can have your anger. She like.
I think a cat made a wish. I think that's the secret behind this movie. Is a cat somewhere made a wish.
Oh, it was Joe from Soul.
Oh yeah, there we go. Wow, in my long Boom Goes Dynamite, I didn't even mention a character becoming a cat. That's a big one. Yeah, like I agree. Her arc is at least like the obvious thing the movie wanted to be doing, but I still think the execution of it is just like bafflingly stupid. And like in the beginning, it's just a hokey kind where it's like, oh, it's Kristen Wiig in glasses. You'll never guess what's going to happen when she takes off the glasses. But I don't know. All of this movie just
yeah.
But
yeah, I mean, this film could have sustained itself with Kristen Wiig being the only villain, right? Like if she got the stone, she wished to be this crazy person, and then she was just wreaking havoc in the city. It would basically be, like the first of the third Spider-Man, right? Like. Basically,
like she could be Birdman.
Yeah, yeah, she could be Birdman. But like a bird that flies at night.
Sure.
Like
Yep.
Batman. Oh, it would all make as much sense as this movie did.
Mm-hmm.
Was there anything you liked in this film, Stephen?
Let's see. I already elaborated. I enjoyed Pedro Pascal's hammy acting. He at least seemed like he was having fun. That made me chuckle. I think there was maybe a 5-minute stretch of the museum fight where I was not actively angry about watching the movie. I was like, okay, this at least has the pace of a like super expensive superhero movie that I'm sitting down to watch. Otherwise, no. I mean, like the wardrobe montage sucked. Most of the set pieces were like nothing. The messages sucked. Yeah, no. Those are it. Those are the only things I liked.
Yeah, there's one thing I liked in this movie, and that's like the slide that she does when she's going around the corner on the top floor of the mall. Like, just that slide is badass, right? Like, I remember that slide was in the trailer, and I was like, yeah, that fight's gonna be cool. And I was like, oh, it's against like random henchmen, and it's really, really dumb and weird. So also, did it seem like the creators of this film had some obsession with Cirque du Soleil? Like, I feel like every single scene they were like trying to do like aerial acrobatics over like legit action, right? Like in the Coliseum at the beginning, there's like the people that are just on the little turnstile things. It's like flipping back and forth. And there's scenes in the mall where she's like hanging and trying to like pose and like gracefully swing down. Like she's on the little, like, the fabric thing that they always do.
Right. Sure. Yeah. Speaking of the opening scene again, do you know what the goal of that obstacle course was? Because, like you said, those characters were just kind of like chilling and swinging around in a way that, like, honestly, when she dove into the ocean, I thought, oh, well, she lost. But then it's just like a triathlon or something where, like, no, you were supposed to dive into the ocean.
Yeah. So it's an obstacle course that, like, comes down to this one thing, and then you have to dive over the edge of the building and into the water, get on a horse and ride. But that was a thing we were going to come back to earlier that made me mad, is the whole fucking message of that opening scene is there are no shortcuts, you can't cheat. She did not cheat. She missed one obstacle that she did not see. So if you look at like slalom, downhill, like ski slaloming, right? There are little gates that you're supposed to go through. And if you miss a gate, you're not considered a cheater. You're docked on your final time, right? You like lose like whatever amount of time it is. So even if you make it down in 45 seconds, I don't know how fucking long slalom courses are, but let's say you make it down in like 1 minute, 30 seconds. If you miss a gate, they just add time to your thing, which will push you down in the ranks, right? You're not a cheater. You just fucked up. So
yeah, unless you solemnly swore that you hit all of them.
I hate you. But like, that's the thing is her instructor lady didn't have to say you cheated. There are no shortcuts. She could just say you missed one of your things. You've been disqualified.
Right. Exactly. Like, hey, you didn't finish.
Yeah. Like she did not cheat. She got knocked off her horse and she tried to get back down to her horse. And in doing so, didn't see one of the targets. If the thing said you cannot stray from the path, then yeah, she cheated. But as far as I can tell, the only problem is that she missed one of the targets because she was knocked off her horse.
Yeah. Well, that's what Diana and Kristen Wiig have in common is they both cheated.
Nice. And on that note,
podcast over. 649. It was a good number of episodes.
But yeah, any last thoughts on this film, Stephen?
Despite all of this, I still can't put my finger on why this movie didn't work so badly. And the reason is that like they can be campy and silly. Like, let's take Shazam, right? I don't remember what the villain wanted in Shazam. It didn't matter. It was probably dumb, right? Like whatever the villain wanted, who cares? Doesn't matter. It's corny. It's fine. Can't be fun. That's what DC is supposed to be able to deliver that the MCU has more trouble with. But something about this movie, like I can't stress enough. Not only did the villain not make sense, not only was the message terrible, not only were the set pieces like not great, but it was just a boring movie. Like it was long. Not a lot happened. There's a lot of dialogue that goes nowhere. And to me, this feels like the worst combination of Marvel and DC impulses of like, they're not going to hit that floor that Marvel movies hit by virtue of having some kind of clear plot mechanic that they follow. But it doesn't get the high of being able to go rogue and do something different. Like it felt very muted, very tame. Yeah. It's like it wasn't even 80s. Like it could have been set anytime. Like it barely did anything with even the fun part of the premise.
Did you see those outfits and those TVs?
Yeah. Sure.
What more could you want from the 80s, Stephen?
like at least 2 big pop music like drops. That would be nice.
You're talking about how did this movie go so wrong. What I want to know is how are they already talking about a third and a fourth film in this franchise? Like I saw a bunch of articles being posted today about like, will the fourth one be set after the third one? I'm like, well, chronologically, I think that probably makes sense, but how are you even still planning on making these films? Like they obviously won't.
I mean, I'm sure it did fine. I don't even know what doing fine means in a streaming world, right? But I'm sure lots of people watched it. So maybe they don't care, right? Maybe they don't care that it was critically panned.
But unless you watched it in a theater, there's no way this film makes back its money, right?
No, well, I don't know. Like with HBO Max, I have no idea what that means because it's not like they're getting paid per view. Maybe they are. I don't think they are though. Isn't it just that like the parent company owns HBO?
Yeah. So this made $16 million this weekend. Worldwide, It's made $85 million.
Mm-hmm.
There's no way the studio expected this to get anything less than $1 billion.
Right.
I'm not good at math.
Yeah, I just wonder, like, the difference between this being a bad movie and a good movie might have not changed that anyway. It might have been the, like, direct-to-streaming thing. Yeah. It means that they have to just value it differently. But at this point, I have no idea. I don't know. I mean, it's still IP people are going to watch. Like, maybe that's all they care about is they think this IP still has juice in it.
Yeah.
I do want to say, big missed opportunity with Wonder Woman 1984. Why didn't they have the, like, projected talking head from that 1984 Apple commercial, and then have Wonder Woman like run up and throw something.
Throw a hammer into it.
Like the hammer person even looks kind of like Wonder Woman. It would have fit perfectly.
Also, Pedro Pascal is standing in a blue beam, which is being projected to every single screen on the planet. Like,
yeah,
she could definitely do that.
Yeah, it would have been perfect. Do the little Big Brother thing. It'd be great. But no, you had to be serious in that moment and give the world's most like cliched monologue about the things you want aren't what you want. It's better to enjoy what we have. Like,
also, two things about the same scene is anybody who talks about films, especially anything sci-fi genre-esque at all, the biggest trope of any of these films is a giant blue beam in the sky.
Sure.
And it's the thing you always point out and laugh at and talk about being a trope. This is literally the worst blue beam in the sky that's ever existed, which is him standing in just a blue well of light, which so first they just point a camera at him, and the camera takes the signal and puts it in the blue beam, and the blue beam touches everyone on the planet, and he can somehow hear all of their wishes. But to boost the signal, he gets out from in front of the camera and just stands in the beam itself. Is that what's going on at the end of this movie?
His whole plan, like, if the argument is that like a projected signal equals touching someone, then like butterfly effect, like you're already touching everyone, right? Like move your hand, all the molecules are connected, right? Like even his plan doesn't make sense.
But even accepting that as a plan that does make sense, which I don't, if he took a broomstick and then touched somebody with that, could he get their wish?
That's a good question.
Like, because technically, when you were standing in that building and the stone was on a table, you were touching the stone. So if anybody in that building or on the planet, for instance, made a wish when that was just sitting on top of a desk, it should have also happened, right?
Yeah. And then the whole Earth would become a Make-A-Wish Foundation. Bad movie. Are we doing verdicts?
Yeah. I think everyone knows. No, we gave our verdict at the top, right?
Right. We didn't follow the rules, but yeah. I guess
we didn't follow the rules. I guess, unlike this film, we should follow our own rules.
Yep.
So let's get to verdicts, Stephen. If you were going to give us a must-see, recommend with a caveat, wait for rental, pass with a caveat, or a must-avoid, what would you give it?
I'm going must-avoid. It's a bad movie. At the end.
Yeah. Must-avoid for me as well. There is not a reason to see this film. Not even in like a it's so bad it's good sort of way. You should just not watch it, and probably not watch the third or fourth installments that are supposed to come out as well.
Yeah, I'll give them another chance. Who knows? I liked the first one. Maybe Patty Jenkins was, I don't know, high when she made this.
All right, well, that is going to do it for our spoiler-filled review of Wonder Woman 1984. Stephen Miller, if people want to find you throughout the week, where can they do that?
People can find me at twitter.com/sdavidmiller or sdavidmiller.com.
People can find me at ChristopherInRealLife.com or Twitter.com/ChristopherIRL. You can find the podcast over at SpoilerWarning.com, where you can get a bunch of the back episodes of the show. If you want to subscribe to the show, you can do so on Overcast, Stitcher, Apple Podcasts, or wherever podcasts are found. If you want to know when the episodes go live, you can follow us at Twitter.com/SpoilerWarning, Facebook.com/TheSpoilerWarning, or Instagram.com/TheSpoilerWarning. If you want to get a hold of us directly, you can send an email to fans@thespoilerwarning.com, or you can use the contact form on our site. Music for this episode will come from the soundtrack to Wonder Woman 1984. So hopefully you're enjoying that more than we didn't enjoy the movie. And yeah, that is the end of this review. I don't know what the next episodes will be, but we have some stuff in the works. And of course, sometime in the next few weeks, we're going to have our end of year episode.
Yeah, somehow we're going to pretend it was a normal year and we're going to make a top 10, and it'll be an interesting exercise.
Yeah, it should be fun. It's going to take a while to compile this list, much more than in years past.
This is the first year in a while. I know this is like a luxury of living in San Francisco, but it's the first year in a while where there are going to be like multiple films that I will have not had a chance to see that are going to be making other people's lists, and that feels bad. It feels bad. Like Minari, I'm not going to get to watch that. It's been on my radar forever. In any normal year, it would have done a limited screening in San Francisco, or we would have caught it at a festival or something.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm just going to have to let it go.
Yep. I guess if we get a stone, we can wish for a world in which we could have seen that in theaters, but not going to happen.
I don't know what the monkey paw would take from us for that.
Our podcast.
Oh, no. The monkey podcast.
I'll take your listeners.
Joke's on you.
We just monkey pawed the monkey paw.